This is Kendra.
My story from going from bedridden to being a 100-mile finisher in ultramarathons. It started by learning how to open my heart. I didn't visualize crossing finish lines. I opened my heart and I knocked on the door for love. And I saw the face of God inside myself. And I realized I didn't have to go anywhere else. I was a very sick little girl. I didn't know what I had until in my 30s. I'm 39 now. And probably from the time that I was 3 years old, I had neurological symptoms, blackout spells, chronic digestive issues, food allergies, trouble swallowing. I choked on food all the time. And I was just sickly, chronic strep throat. Fast forward to turning 30 years old and getting pregnant with my daughter, Sophia, who's now 8 years old. And becoming a single mother halfway through my pregnancy put me through a little bit of a whirlwind. And I wasn't managing my stress very well. It just went downhill after I gave birth. I had a little baby who screamed all of the time from the moment she came out of the womb. My body was failing me. My knees wouldn't work. My breathing was altered. And all the symptoms from when I was younger started to come back, the neurological symptoms. And I just felt like I had the flu all the time. I couldn't focus on my own health. I had a little girl, and it was just her and I. We're estranged. Her father's not in the picture. His family and my family are not a part of our lives. So my stress felt insurmountable. And over time, I learned what we were sick with. It wasn't just me. It was my daughter also. By the time she was 9 months old, we were hypothermic and sweating formaldehyde. And I got the diagnosis of chronic Lyme disease that I probably had my whole life, that I had also passed down to my daughter. We later learned that we also had mast cell activation syndrome, which is when your body just decides to be allergic to everything. I probably spent 6 years just eating chicken and rice. I couldn't have anything. I tried the diets first, and when they failed, my body just started failing me. And my little girl was failing to thrive. She was losing weight all the time, and later got the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. When she started kindergarten, she would just stand there and hold her teacher's hand outside, too scared to play with kids. We'd go to the playground and we'd both leave crying. I wanted her to have fun, and she couldn't get over her fear. Even as a little baby, if she were facing outward in the baby carrier, if someone looked at her and waved, she'd just scream and cry. I couldn't go to the bathroom alone. She had this fear that I would leave her, although I had never been able to leave her. She slept in my bed the first 5 years of her life. I had to hold her tight every night, and God forbid I had to get up and pee, because then we'd have to start it all over again. And I never slept, and I had a body that was sick, that I made sick. And the final straw was in February of 2022. For some ungodly reason, I decided to take on a master's degree in consciousness, and it's relevant because I collapsed in February. I couldn't breathe. My daughter called 911. She's autistic, hysterical, also sick. I got taken away. A neighbor came and sat with her, and that led to getting a sweat chloride test, because all the mast cell medications and all the herbs, all the stuff just weren't working, and the sweat chloride test came back positive. So then I really felt doomed, that this isn't just Lyme disease, which I had done every treatment for. I had $20,000 of debt. I did stem cell therapy, all the diets, the vegan water and all that stuff. Nothing worked. I did drug trials, antibiotics. I saw the shaman. I was desperate. I did it all. And I got worse. I became bedridden after the stem cell therapy. It just didn't work well with my body. And as a single mother, that was really hard. We were homeless for a little while, lived in a friend's mother-in-law suite in the basement, where I had a mattress on the floor right by the bathroom, and When I could walk, I would. I'd soil myself and wouldn't know it. I just would lose feeling in my body, or I'd sit up and pass out. So I had to use the energy I had when I could move to meal prep for my daughter and put food where she could reach it. And she was just 3 years old. It was a lot. So when I collapsed, got the cystic fibrosis diagnosis, I was really, really good at being a victim, and I posted on the Lyme disease forum online. We love social media when we're victims, and at least I did. And someone suggested, you are the placebo. They said, it's not the end. You have the final say in your life. And there's a part of me that wasn't fully consumed by my victimhood, and I bought the book because I thought, what the heck? What do I have to lose? I have this little girl I have to live for. She can't live without me. Nobody knows how to take care of her. She won't talk to anybody, won't look at anybody. And so I read the book, and it was probably March of 2022. And one of my friends in my master's program, we talk a lot, and we know this is the truth because it's what we study. I had this foundation already, so it all made sense. I knew this was the way. And I read that spontaneous remissions happen more frequently in Denver, or maybe I read about a spontaneous remission in Denver, whatever it was. I live in Denver, so I'm like, all right, well, let's go to this progressive retreat. I had no money, and my friend loaned me the money, and I went. And I had such bad chronic fatigue and so many neurological symptoms that even just waking up and driving here was like climbing Everest. Staying awake. And I was one of those people that always had to wear a mask because if someone touched me, I'd get hives. If I smelled someone, and not even someone's perfume, someone's breath, I could go anaphylactic. It was horrid. But I did it because I knew I had to. And at that time, I wasn't fully living for myself. I was living for my little girl. And I didn't know how to love myself yet. So I went to the progressive retreat. And by day 2, I couldn't stop crying. I had meditations that blew my head off and ripped my heart wide open. And I got to look from the outside in and be the observer. I had done meditations for 20 years and never healed. I was still dying. I was still sick. This works. And when I got to see who I was being in the world, it wasn't about healing anymore. It was about love. It was about being the best mother to my daughter. And not even wishing for her to get better, but just wishing that I can be more patient when I'd lose my mind, wishing that I could just love her where she's at, hold her when she's screaming, even if I don't know when it's going to stop. By the time I went home, I realized this was the answer. I just have to change who I'm being. I have to change my personality. I need to become someone new because that was not working for myself or my little girl. I decided no matter what, I was going to get this body up out of bed every day at 5 a.m. and do the breath, bless my energy centers, and just sit there with myself in my fire and learn how to love myself there. I couldn't focus on my daughter's healing. I had to heal first. I had to fill my cup that was so vacant before I can go there. And 3 days after the retreat, I started feeling good. And I put on running clothes, dug them out from ancient stores and put them on, and they still fit. And I went and ran around the block, and I didn't die. I got home and I felt okay. So I did it again and again, and I realized my body was starting to heal and there might be something to this. And I was committed. Despite the setbacks, there were days when I felt like I was back at square one. There were times when I got worse before I got better. But I was too stubborn to quit. And I knew this was the way. And my heart was starting to open. My food allergies didn't go away. I didn't care. I realized at this point, my little girl was watching. And I thought, I want to show her the truth. So I have to become the truth. And I decided to apply for a scholarship. I needed to get to a week long to really shake whatever crap I was still holding on to. And I was blessed to receive a scholarship through Give to Give for the Niagara Falls retreat in 2022. The week before that retreat, when I was 17, I had thyroid cancer. I kind of forget about this stuff because it really is the old self. I had to really dig through symptoms because it's so separate from who I am today. But I had thyroid cancer at 17 and had it removed. So I've taken thyroid medicine most of my life. I'm 39 now. And I thought, since my doctor said my levels were increasing, so let's decrease my thyroid meds. And I'm like, well, maybe we should do a scan and see if I'm growing one back, or that'd be really cool to go to Niagara and have that scan. Well, we did the scan and I had what appeared to be a metastatic lymph node. It was not a thyroid growing back. And they just wanted to do surgery right away. The top radiologist looked at it and they were like, it's never not anything else. I'm like, well, I'm going to this retreat. Let's just scan again after, even if I have to pay for it, it's fine. And I was gifted the 3 coherence healings in Niagara Falls, and that changed my life. And I didn't have any big moments. I felt a lot of love, but I was just so numb still back then. My heart was still opening, but that blew my heart wide open. And the week after the retreat, I went and got a scan again, and there was nothing there.
You changed the field, you changed matter.
Something else happened during that retreat. I had my daughter with me and with a sitter from college, from undergrad, and Sophia could only eat rice. She also had the mast cell disease, and she was failing to thrive and was really close to needing to be on a feeding tube. And because she was only eating rice, she was not having bowel movements regularly. And she was crying. She said she hurt down there, and we went to the hospital, and she had rectal prolapse. And the doctor said, we can put it back once. If it comes out again, she needs surgery. So they put it back. Later that night, it came out again, and took her back to the hospital, and they said, see her pediatrician tomorrow and schedule surgery right away. So we went home, and we didn't go to bed that night right away. I said, what do you want to feel? Do you want to have surgery? And she looked at me and said, no, Mommy. How would you feel if you didn't have to have surgery? I'd feel pretty excited. Like, you think you might feel grateful? Oh, yeah. All right. So we did the kids walking meditation, and she walked as it. And she walked with such conviction, and she had her little hand over her heart. And the next day we went to her doctor, and I was in the unknown. I have faith, I know, and the truth is in my heart, but that was kind of on her. I'm like, all right, let's see how well you showed up. And they checked, and her doctor said, it looks perfect. There's nothing wrong with this child. Shortly after that, I decided to go all in. It was probably a few months later. I was still struggling with food, but inching my way towards eating more than chicken and rice. Sophia's autism was getting worse. Her health she still couldn't eat anything. I wanted her to heal, but I couldn't want that. I had to know the possibility was in my heart. And if I want to get to know what's in my heart, I have to spend some time with it and see what's in there. So I committed to doing the center of the magnet every day at 3 a.m. for a month in December of 2022.
I didn't tell her to do that.
And I sat with myself. I wanted my daughter to heal. I knew the possibility, and I had to let it go. I wanted to heal. And I wanted a mystical moment. We all do, don't we? And after about 3 weeks in, when nothing happened at all, I was so frustrated. And then I got up and did my think box where, I didn't have wine in the morning. I couldn't have wine back then. But I sat with myself with my vegan water and, what is it that I want? And I came to the realization, I just want to open my heart. I want to get to know this thing. I feel like every answer is there. And that was my intention for my meditation. And I sat with myself, and I had every thought known to man the first hour of that meditation, and I just was spiraling. It felt like a bad meditation, even though we don't have those. And then by the second round, I sat up with conviction. I'm like, this isn't about you, and I did my breath for my daughter and just thought about how much I loved her, and that cracked my heart open. And by the second round, where you lay your body down in the center of the magnet, I laid on my couch and I was wide awake, almost like buzzing, but I could hear my body snoring. And I've worked in hypnotherapy, and I know that's just a somnambulistic state. My body's knocked out, my mind is awake. This is good. We're in the sweet spot. And I just went with it, and I left my body. I didn't go far. I was above my body on the couch, and this angel showed up. And I'm not a religious person. I couldn't ballpark what an angel looks like, but I knew it was an angel. And then I saw my daughter in the quantum appear, and it was 3 a.m. I was able to sneak out of bed and do these, thank God, at that time. So maybe she was getting a little better in that sense. But I saw her appear, and she has these little, they call them the stork bite rash on her neck. And the angel just looked over and said, those are angel kisses. She's blessed. And then I don't know if the angel told me telepathically or if it was just what my heart really wanted. And I couldn't control it. I was just witnessing this. I wasn't driving the car. I was the observer. And I saw myself look at my daughter in the quantum with this angel. And I just said, heal. I commanded her to heal 3 times. And then it was it. My heart blew open. I was bawling on the couch. I came back to my body and I'm like, oh, that was big. Okay. And took my time coming back to my body. I also should add that those days where I was getting up at 3 a.m. were my best days. The lack of sleep was irrelevant, kind of like being here. I was more productive, more energized, more loving, and more patient with my daughter, which was everything I wanted. Instead of reacting, I can look at her and see myself in her and the parts of my own self that needed love in this journey, because we are all oneness and wholeness, and I could see her own unique self in the ways she needed love. Within a few weeks, she accidentally ate a Hershey Kiss at school and didn't die. So I said, all right, we're going to sit here. I'm going to keep the EpiPen nearby, and we're just going to eat some food. She passed every food with flying colors, nuts, all the stuff that we were scared of, dairy, gluten. She ate it all. Additionally, because of her fear of food, that started to go away as well. She was more excited to try new foods, which was really great. She started gaining weight. She started participating in school. She started playing with other kids. She joined karate and sports and had sleepovers and became a regular social kid within weeks. So in her own heart, she knows this works. And she always sees those ads for St. Jude's. And she said, Mommy, it makes me sad because these kids would have a chance if they could get to Dr. Joe's retreats. So she took it upon herself to write a letter to St. Jude. This was very recent. She still had a couple of autism fears, some irrational fears. Like if someone had a little tiny puppy, she'd be terrified of it. And I thought, if we got this far, what if we just pushed it a little more? And we're very grateful to get into the 12-week ASD study, the program through the remote coherence healings here. And within the 12 weeks, she completely healed her fears, and she was pet sitting last week for a friend, taking care of the dogs, the cats, and completely fearless. So I spoke with her therapist. We tried OT and all the things. I refused medicine, and her occupational therapist said, If you walked in here today, I would tell you she does not have autism.
So, there was a study with the official Coherence Healing Group where we worked on autistic children, and it was like a 6 or 8 week intervention where they were getting 2 coherence healings. I think it was a week, and the effects were super profound for just about every single kid that was involved in these remote coherence healings. And she's right. This is when the occupational therapy wasn't working, the physical therapy wasn't working, the speech therapy wasn't working, the conditioning therapy wasn't working. And when these kids get exposed to the energy and the frequency, many times they have a profound change in their personality as well, and a change in their health. So she was part of that study. So that's very cool.
Thank you. And eventually, the last of my symptoms left as well. Probably January of last year in Marco Island. I hadn't even run a marathon yet, by the way. I dressed as my future self, ultra marathon runner, and accidentally ate some rum cake and didn't die. So I was like, yes, I can have alcohol. So of course I had wine that night, and I ran my first marathon last year in June. And that didn't kill me. And I know it's this work because I went for a run the next day. Most marathon runners take weeks or even a month to recover. I was fine. So I signed up for a 50K and ran that in 100-degree heat and didn't die. So in December of last year, my friend was like, hey, you want to try a 100-miler? And I am a sucker for a good time. So the race was in February. I was not training, and I decided to go for it. I just knew it was the truth in my heart. When somebody says something to you and it makes you cry, I just knew it. There's a right way to do 100 milers, and then there's the way that I did it. And I thought my mental grit will get me through this. So the same woman I met at the Marco Island retreat lives in Vegas where the race was, and gathered a group of Dr. Joe people and saw them at mile 90 and started bawling. She's like, they're all here for you. I didn't even know these people. You guys are the greatest community on the planet.
That's what we do.
And I crossed that finish line. And not only did I cross that finish line of a 100-mile ultra marathon, but I felt bliss the entire time. I never had a moment of, I never want to do this again. And now one of my intentions and my little squiggly line intentions from years ago was that I'm a sponsored athlete. And I did get sponsored to run another 100-miler in October. I've done a bunch of 50Ks. I did 2 this week just before the retreat. And no recovery time is needed. So I'm just so grateful for this work. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Now, did you learn from that? Did you learn something from that? Did you hear her symptoms at the beginning of her journey? Did you hear the challenges she had health-wise? Did you hear her say, I got worse? And many days I didn't feel like doing it. I felt physically worse. I wasn't getting any better. But what was the consistent theme? She kept regrouping. She kept applying the work. She kept thinking about it. She kept recommitting. She found time when her daughter was asleep at 3 a.m. Some people would say, oh, I can't do that. I would be a wreck the rest of the day. She found value in that. It worked for her. She had more energy. She started noticing that there was movement taking place in her. She didn't care really if she still had the symptoms. She started feeling better. She started making sense to her. The journey that she was making through every experience was creating a greater understanding of what she was doing. And when the time was right, she had her mystical experience. And listen, I really don't care what the mystical experience is. People have them all the time. I do care, but what I'm saying is the details doesn't matter. What matters is what is the effect. You can't say the person made that up. You can't say that. The experience somehow, what she had with her daughter and that being, There's more information in the immaterial than there is in the material. She experienced it in the immaterial and it manifested in the material. I mean, it's just the way it is. You can't talk her out of that. You can't say to her, oh, that's not the truth. She'll laugh at you. It was the truth because the effect changed her life, changed her daughter's life. She had a greater understanding. It all made sense to her.